Karmelo gon' be just fine. God gon' see about this in his own time. Hold your head high, don't let him steal your light. Karmelo gon' be just fine tonight. Peace be still, peace be still. That's just how we feel. Peace be still, peace be still. Keep your faith for real. Storm clouds hanging, people talking every day. Everybody got opinions, got something to say. But we praying for the truth wherever it may lead. Praying for the family and everybody's needs. Know we tapped in, we watching every move. Trying to stay together while the world keep choosing sides to prove. Somebody hurting, somebody crying, that's the truth. So we asking God for wisdom while we're searching for the proof. Karmelo gon' be just fine. God gon' see about this in his own time. Hold your head high, don't let him steal your life. Karmelo gon' be just fine tonight. Peace be still, peace be still. That's just how we feel. Peace be still, peace be still. Keep your faith for real. Stay strong, little bro, don't give up the fight. The Most High still working in the dark and in the light. Family standing with you, love standing too. Keep your faith in the storm till you make it through. When the pressure gets heavy and the nights get long, remember every trial ain't where you belong. Keep your eyes on them all, keep your heart on God. One step at a time, keep moving through it all. We ain't giving up, we ain't backing down. Love gonna lift us when we're feeling on the ground. Hands to the heavens, prayers in the sky, trusting in the truth as the days go by. Karmelo gon' be just fine. God gon' see about this in his own time. Family coming, faith coming too. The strength of the Most High gonna carry you. Peace be still, peace be still. That's just how we feel. Peace be still, peace be still. Keep your faith for real. Karmelo, stay strong. Keep holding on.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, and so with that all being said, let's see who is in here. All right, Pearly is here. Buckhorse DC, Miss Nene. All right, let's get into it. Claudette, DC Fly. Okay, the Prince of Paraphernalia is here. All right, let's get into it. Love Christy. All right, Terry Hinton is here. Okay, Marie James. Okay, Leon, Gerard. All right. Shout out to all of my loyal Roys and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Hey, Greta. Okay. Lip Liquorant, and Vanity Company. I hope I said that right, beloved. And you're talking about atonement. I definitely need to do so. Okay. Now, Buckhorse DC is here. All right, let's get this party started. The infamous Marty Marr is here. Okay. Lala Neek is here. All right, Mr. Elevation, Truth Brown. All right, shout out to Truth Brown. That was a song that Truth Brown created for Karmelo. We have another one coming out tomorrow. Okay, I just was able to download it. Okay, Simply Sandra. All right. So with that all being said, let's get into it. Everybody hit that like button, okay? Don't be stingy with the likes. Queen Amoni Huey is here, okay? The Ethylene Harris is here, okay? Chris B. All right, Dorada, I see you, beloved. Azo Catano. All right, where y'all get these names from? Precious Jim is here. J Love the Queen. Let's get it popping. Okay, so with that all being said, and without further ado, y'all know we have to keep the lights on. So let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. And I hope you all took advantage of the sale that she had for the 4th because it just ended, I believe, last night at 11:59. Okay? She was giving like 40 or 45% off. I hope you all got your goodies. Okay, so now with that all been said, let's get into these documents. Let's get into these documents, okay? We're not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to go through some key points. I haven't even looked at this one, to be honest. This is the recusal, the one for the judge to be recused. And then the other one, I went through some of that and picked out a few things I want to talk about that are most important because that one is like 194 pages. And y'all already know we're not going through all of that. We're going to go through about 5 of the most important pages, okay? In my opinion. Now, let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. All right, here we go. Now, we're going to start right here at point number 4, where they talk about the grounds for the recusal. So after the jury returned its verdict and the court imposed sentence on June 9th of 2026, the Honorable John Roach, the presiding judge at trial, granted a televised interview to WFAA-TV, Channel 8, concerning this case that aired on or about June 11th of 2026. Now, in that interview, Judge Roach expressed personal opinions about the propriety and the correctness of the the jury's verdict. Now, the fairness of the trial and the correctness of the judge's own rulings during the trial. Such conduct implicates the Texas Code of Judicial Conduct and the objective appearance standard under Rule 18B. Okay, the case remains a pending or impending proceeding before the court at this time, and public statements expressing the judge's personal views on these matters would suggest to a reasonable person the judge's probable decision on any motion for the new trial that may be filed. Okay, so here's the thing. Basically, in the interviews, he showed that he was biased. Okay, he really tried to, he talked about why he wasn't transparent before the trial and then he was wanting to be transparent after, and that's because people were calling them out because we knew it was a whole railroading. Okay, so the fact that he wanted to try to put things out after, okay, that's just not how you do it. Okay, because it should have been a public trial. It wasn't federal. Okay, he absolutely could have had people in there to see what was going on, but he didn't do that. And then he came back and basically in the interview tried to toot his own horn, if you ask me, because we all watched it. Okay, he basically said that he felt like, he was being fair and all of this. So here's the thing. Among the problematic comments that Judge Roach made during the WFAA TV interview are the following. Okay, point A. Judge Roach endorsed the jury's guilty verdict. Yes, he did. Okay. When asked by a reporter, did the jury get it right? Judge Roach answered, yeah, they did, explaining that the jurors were picked based upon the law and listened to the facts. That happened here in this very courtroom, and added that whatever they say, they get it right. Okay, so that lets you know that he would not be open to the possibility of a new trial because he already said publicly that he feels the jury got it right. So why would he want to be the person who grants, okay, the ability for Karmelo to possibly have a new trial? Okay, then it goes on to say the next thing. Point B, Judge Roach characterized Mr. Anthony as a nice young man who committed a crime, who understands today the consequences of committing a crime like he did, and declared that Mr. Anthony had received a fair trial, stating, "I certainly think he did." Okay, now the next point, Judge Roach defended the courtroom access and no streaming restrictions, that the motion for the new trial challenges, calling the decision not to allow, because basically they're saying in their motions that they filed that was just not right. That basically was in violation of his constitutional rights to have a public trial. Okay, and also they made it quite difficult, and I didn't even know all of this until I started reading the motion. They literally made it so difficult for people to get inside the courtroom. Now, we'll get into that when I start on the next motion. Okay, so anyway, he defended the courtroom access and no streaming restrictions, that the motion for the new trial challenges, okay, calling the decision not to allow cameras or streaming an easy decision, asserting that the general public had access to the courtroom, okay, stating that of the 70 seats in the courtroom, he had 200 requests by the media, and that the public had only 27 to 32 seats, okay, for the public. Now, that we rotated every day, he says, maintaining that members of the public could have stood in line with everybody else to obtain one, and concluding that he had struck that balance pretty well. Now, the next point, they say Judge Roach addressed a suggestion, okay, then circulating in social media, that he had a personal relationship with the family of the deceased, denying that he knew the Metcalf family, disputing the authenticity of the images said to show otherwise, which appear to have been fabricated. Okay, and volunteering that he sympathized with the Metcalfs and what they've been through. Okay, now see, that's where he effed up. Now, you definitely don't want someone who has sympathy, because here's the thing. Okay, the judges are supposed to be unbiased. They're not supposed to have any type of personal relations or feelings to the defendant or the plaintiff, okay? Or the person, the victim. Okay, the victim's family, any of that. They're not supposed to have any type of connection to that. Why would you say that you sympathize with them? Now, even if he does sympathize with them, that's something he should have kept to himself, because now you're just letting us know that you were clearly biased. How could you not be biased in the courtroom when you literally just said that you had sympathy for them, that you sympathize with them? Okay, so that means that you likely wanted Karmelo to get the harshest sentence possible, okay, under your watch. So anyway, goes on to say, he sympathized with the Metcalfs and what they've been through. Now, Judge Roach addressed his rulings during jury selection. When asked about the defense's objection to the dismissal of 3 prospective jurors who had identified as African American, okay, Judge Roach stated that he followed the law in that case and did it to a T, he said, okay, that he was proud of that. And that although he knew in the back of his mind what the perception was going to be, he was not here to satisfy perceptions. Okay, that's what he said. Like, basically, he didn't care what people thought. Well, that was obvious when we all saw the railroading. Okay, now Judge Roach reiterated this public defense of his own rulings in a written statement to Fox News, in which he stated, "I understand the public's desire to know what happened in the courtroom. The overwhelming focus on my ruling regarding the media in the courtroom was to protect the process, the witnesses, and jury. Now that the trial is over, it's important to me to provide transparency." We don't really need transparency after the fact. Okay, we wanted it during. Okay, so we could make sure everything was on the up and up, but that's what he deprived us of. So a verified transcript of the interview is attached as Exhibit A. The recording of the interview is filed conventionally with the clerk as Exhibit C, and Judge Roach's written statement to Fox News. Okay, now I'm going to leave that where it is, because we really already know why they want him recused. He's just not fair. Okay, he was in there aiding and abetting in the bullshit, as far as I'm concerned. And let me just say, allegedly. And with that all being said, he doesn't need to be there. Okay, he does not. He's not going to be fair. And if you can't be fair and unbiased, then you just don't need to preside over the case. You don't need to have anything to do with his appeals process moving forward. Okay, now we got to get into the nitty gritty and talk about this motion for the new trial. Now I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that like button. All right. Sometimes y'all be in here slacking. Okay. Now let's get into it. So we're going to start on, let me see. Okay, I'm going to go down and start on page 37. And as you can see, just for you all to know, these are the actual documents. Because somebody asked me earlier, "Are you sure those are the real documents?" Yes, they are. Okay, it has the filing date on here, the district clerk of Collin County, Texas, and all of that. Okay, and the clerk's name and everything. Okay. So now, with that all being said, I'm going to go to page 37, and we'll start right there. Point 79 is where I want to start. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Okay, no Texas court has approved such a hold on, let me go up a little bit. Okay, point 78. Step back, and the regime the order created has no precedent in Texas criminal practice. A standing trial-wide order rationed the general public to a single 10-minute entry window and roughly 24 rotating seats. Okay, capped audience behind a media allotment, barred re-entry once the doors closed, and after a brief experiment with an overflow feed during jury selection, switched that feed off for the testimony. So here's the thing. I already see where this is going. I think I'm probably I was gonna say maybe I'm glad I didn't go down there, but I probably would have still gotten in. Okay, I would have made my way in just like I did at the Diddy trial. So here's the thing. When you go to these trials, they don't have a lot of seats because, like I told you all, at the Diddy trial, they were only allowing in 27 people. Was it 20? No. I'm sorry. It was 21 media, and then it was 14 people from the public. That's it. 14. Okay. If you were after number 14, you had to go into the overflow room where there's just a monitor and you can listen and watch from there, like you're watching it on TV, basically, rather than being inside the full courtroom. Now, they were supposed to have something like that here in Collin County. So apparently they had it at one point, but there was some problem. Okay, it sounds like there was a problem with the overflow room. Now, also, they talk about how the general public, they had like a single 10-minute entry window. Okay, and roughly 24 rotating seats. They capped the audience, capped attendance behind a media allotment, barred re-entry once the doors closed. So that means that if you went outside for whatever reason, once they shut the doors, you couldn't get back in. Now, when I went to the Diddy trial, we were able to leave, to go to the restroom and things like that, or get some water or whatever, and then come back. Most of the time we had to be in there and seated. But if you did have to get up and go to the restroom, you could absolutely get back in. Okay, so this sounds like they purposely were trying to make it difficult for people. Okay, that's what that sounds like for me. Okay, so anyway, they say all while the reporter's record of the trial remained untranscribed. Now, the pretrial proceedings were not made part of any reporter's record available to counsel. So the pretrial proceedings were not made part of any reporter's record available to counsel. Okay, and the case file sat in the court's chambers. No Texas court has approved such a regime. And the court's televised interview does not soften that picture, it sharpens it. They don't even have the transcripts available at this point. They still don't have the transcripts available, and that's crazy because, like I told you all, when we were at Diddy's trial, we literally got the transcripts every day if we wanted to. All we had to do was get them from Diddy's publicist, okay, or you could purchase them, but you did have access to them if you wanted them. And these people why are they hiding all this stuff? Okay, why? And the court's televised interview does not soften the picture, it sharpens it. Now, as to account for the restrictions, the court did not point to a single record finding and articulated an articulated threat or a considered rejection of alternatives. Okay, the things Waller and Presley require, but defended the result as an easy decision it had struck pretty well, and explained its refusal even to audio stream the trial on the ground that people were going to distort whatever happens. So what's the point? Here's the thing. Now, I want you to pay attention. They said that they didn't want to stream it because people were going to distort what happened. How can you distort what happens when everybody's watching it? You see, what happened is things may have gotten distorted because people were left to their own vices to draw their own conclusions. People were going by social media rumors and things like that. Okay. And also, Waller and Presley are other cases where they've had the same issue. Okay. That set precedent. Now, you know that they always have in these filings, these court filings, because I've done them so many times with you all, specifically with Diddy. Okay, but when they have these other cases they reference, that's to let you know that this is something that's happened before, and you could have just looked at those cases to see how to proceed with the case you're currently working. Okay, and clearly Mike Howard didn't do that, but I don't think that he needed to, because according to sources, he's the best criminal defense attorney in Dallas for the past 10 years. So we know that he was just operating on some BS. Okay, now goes on to say, let me move on down to point 79. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, so the judge's own statement of his purpose confirms that the closure was a deliberate denial of the contemporaneous public access that the Constitution guarantees. Okay, in a written statement to Fox News after the trial, the judge explained, saying, "I understood the public's desire to know what happened in the courtroom. The overwhelming focus on my ruling regarding the media in the courtroom was to protect the process, the witness, and the jury." That's the same thing that he said last time, right? Now that the trial is over, it's important to provide transparency, which was withheld until the trial was over. But you see, the public trial guarantee secures the public's right to observe the proceedings as it happens. It is the contemporaneous openness of the trial, not a retrospective account offered after verdict and sentence, that assures the proceedings is conducted fairly and discourages misconduct. You see, that's why he didn't want those cameras in there. And I already told you all this. He did not want the cameras in there because he knew that they were going to be railroading this young man. He knew that they were going to be engaging in all sorts of malfeasance. He knew this, and he didn't want the public to see it. Okay, that's why they really didn't have cameras in there. That's also why they restricted access to certain people. Okay, they wouldn't allow certain people into the courtroom. They let the media that they wanted of their own choosing get into the courtroom. You see, that's what they did. And that was all for them to control the narrative and just do all the shady stuff, like it has been alleged by several people. One of them, someone who works for Court TV. Okay, so they allowed Jeff Metcalf to sit there and coach people while they were on the stand. Now, had there been cameras in the courtroom, we all would have seen him if he were doing that. He likely wouldn't have been able to do it, okay? Knowing that he would be seen. So there was little things like that. And then let's not forget how, when they were about to sentence Karmelo, his mother, and these MAGA minions keep saying, "Oh, they left him in there. I feel so bad for that child." They don't feel bad for him. When have they ever felt bad for Karmelo? Okay, they want him to get more time, but they bring that up just to try to make his parents look bad, because look at Jeff Metcalf, okay, and Megan. Look at them. What kind of parents are they? Clearly not good ones, in my opinion. So they tried to just basically talk down on them and say, "Oh, they left their son in there. They don't care anything about that boy. He was just a meal ticket for them." These are the foolish things that they said. But at the end of the day, they were asked to leave because Carmelo's mother was crying so loudly. She was crying. Her heart was broken, of course. And so they had them escorted from the courtroom. Okay, something else that was terribly egregious, in my opinion. Also, they wouldn't have wanted those cameras to see how the Metcalfs allegedly spoke to Karmelo. I wasn't there, but people say that they were berating him. They were saying all sorts of evil things to him, saying that he wasn't going to have anything and he didn't deserve anything and all of this, and just going in on him to the point that they said he was crying and he was trembling. Okay, that's how upset he was. Now, you think they would have done all of that with cameras rolling? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. They may have poured out their hearts and said whatever they felt, but to be just belittling him and berating him and all of those things, I don't think they would have done that at all. So they knew what they were doing. Okay, so then it goes on to say that transparency furnished after the trial has ended is no substitute for an open trial and cannot cure the denial of access while the proceeding was underway. Okay, the interest the judge invoked protecting the process, the witness, and the jury are moreover precisely the kind of generic, non-particularized concerns that cannot justify closure absent specific findings on the record. So basically saying it's just all BS. That's just a convenient excuse. Because how you know that he wasn't concerned about the jurors, the jury, the witnesses, and the process? Okay, how you know that's not what it was is because they already said that they knew people, they didn't want the cameras in there because they knew people would try to twist things around, basically. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, people wouldn't have had to twist anything around because if people were able to see in real time what they were doing, what they were pulling off in that courtroom, okay, they know that they would never have gotten away with it. Okay. So that's why they did all of it, in my opinion. Now, let's go to point 84. Okay, here we go. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. I'm just going to hit a few more points. Okay, so where the record fails to show that the trial court considered all reasonable alternatives to closure, the closure is reversible error. Okay, then they list some cases. Okay, so now with that all being said, hold on. That's not where I wanted to go. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, so the court's off-record sealing of the record was unlawful and harmed the defendant. Okay, so the secrecy did not end at the courtroom door. It reached the court record itself. Beyond the gag order that silenced the parties, the counsel, and the witnesses. And that's another thing that's unusual. In criminal proceedings, you don't very often have gag orders issued on everyone that's possibly going to be involved in the case. They were really trying to be very secretive during this whole thing, and they're still trying to be secretive. That's why they sealed all of the evidence. So anyway, it goes on to say that the court directed that motions and subpoenas be hand delivered to the court and held under seal. And the court, not the district clerk, served as the custodian of the case file, which was kept in chambers rather than in the district clerk's public file. No public order authorizing that arrangement supported by the notice, hearing, and findings the law requires before a record may be sealed was ever even entered. So they didn't even go through the proper channels to seal this information. Okay, they just did whatever they wanted to do. They did not follow the correct procedure, basically. And see, we knew that Karmelo was being railroaded, but now with these documents found, we get to see exactly what the devils were doing. Okay. So the docket nonetheless reflects a series of orders restricting the record in order to redact, okay, June 25th of 2025, in order to file and redact, and in order to seal both June 11th of 2026 and a further order entered June 18th of 2026 that the public docket leaves undescribed. Okay, the filings in this high-profile prosecution were thus unavailable for contemporaneous public inspection in the ordinary course. So that means that people couldn't go back and look at it after the fact. Okay, you couldn't get this stuff. You couldn't get this stuff by filing freedom of information because they basically put everything under seal. Now, the sealing was not confined to particular filings. The entire court file was placed under seal by oral order, with no written order, no public notice, no open hearing, and no findings to justify withholding the record from public view. You see, they don't have a good reason to do so, that they can come out and tell us at least. The only thing they can say, or the only reason they really did this, is because they know what they did. They know that this was a whole kangaroo court. Okay, they know exactly what they were doing. They were railroading this young man. They had all sorts of things going on that were inappropriate and all of that. So this is why everything's hidden. Also, let's not forget that they didn't even enter into evidence of the supposed weapon that was used, only a picture of it. Now, at a conference held on June the 29th of 2026, the court advised the parties that the entire court file had been sealed by oral order and that counsel could not access the file unless he first agreed not to disclose what he observed in it. Counsel responded that he could not commit to withholding information he had not yet seen. Okay, and the court left the file available for inspection only in the court's chambers. What is all this? Like, what is all the secrecy? Are y'all paying attention? Now, the episode lays bare the character of the closure. Access to the record of a public criminal trial was conditioned on a promise of secrecy that no responsible advocate could give. And the file was kept quite literally in the judge's chambers. Okay, they were hiding the truth. All right, beyond the reach of the public and of the defense alike. So even the defense couldn't get it. And if he did see it, had to come in after the fact to see it in the judge's chambers. Now, an oral order sealing an entire court file pronounced without notice, hearing, or findings is sealing in its least reviewable form. There is no order to contest, no findings to test, and no record of the decision to seal at all. Now, this continuing denial of access to the file is of a piece with the closure of the courtroom itself. Both withhold the open proceeding the Constitution guarantees, and both confirm that the secrecy was structural rather than incidental. This is all so crazy. These people really did a job. Okay, they really did a job. Low down dirty devils. Okay, let's go to the next point, which will be so conditioning counsel's access to the file also impaired defendants' ability to investigate and present this motion within Rule 21's short deadline. Now, counsel could not responsibly agree not to disclose or use information before seeing it. Okay, the condition therefore prevented counsel from inspecting the complete file during the very period in which counsel was required to identify, verify, and present extra record grounds for a new trial. Okay, and see, now you see why they don't want him, okay, looking at this case, trying to make any decisions. These people are a piece of work. Now, defendant does not ask the court to decide the public's independent access rights in the abstract. He relies on the file restriction because it affected his own ability to litigate this motion and because it corroborates the same off-record restriction of public access that occurred in the courtroom. So the public and the press hold a constitutional right of access to criminal proceedings and to the records of those proceedings, and a court may not seal the record of a judicial proceeding in secret. Okay, that right of access is a fundamental element of the rule of law, and the court's discretion to seal is to be exercised charily only after it identifies and balances the competing interest on the record, which they clearly didn't do. Now let's go to point 96. We're almost done. I'm just going to hit a few more of these points here. Okay, 96, defendant's motion for a new trial in brief in support. Okay, so the record sequestration did more than offend the public's right of access. It directly harmed the defendant. You see, the period after judgment was marked by a rapid succession of counsel. On June the 10th of 2026, trial counsel withdrew and the court appointed appellate counsel. So basically, his lawyer took off as soon as the case was over with, Mike Howard. And I told you all that too. I said he got up out of there real quick. That's how you know he didn't give any F's about Karmelo. Okay, and then Karmelo was issued a court-appointed appellate counsel who was then replaced by newly appointed appellate counsel before the defendant's present counsel were substituted in on June the 23rd of 2026. Now, throughout that period, and while the 30-day deadline for a motion for a new trial was running, the materials necessary to evaluate and prepare the motion were held by the court in chambers and were absent from the public file. Everything's in the judge's chambers. Now, each successive counsel was thus required to come up to speed and to prepare against a hard statutory deadline, okay, on an incomplete and inaccurate record. The reporter's record could not fill the gap. When counsel contacted the official court reporter, counsel was advised that no portion of the trial had been transcribed. So you mean to tell me they had a court reporter sitting there who wasn't transcribing anything that was being said? Wait a minute. I had to have read that wrong. That can't be right. Let me go back again. So throughout that period, and while the 30-day deadline for a motion for a new trial was running, the materials necessary to evaluate and prepare the motion were held by the court in chambers and were absent from the public's file. Each successive counsel was thus required to come up to speed and to prepare against a hard statutory deadline on an incomplete and inaccurate record. The reporter's record could not fill the gap. When counsel contacted the official court reporter, counsel was advised that no portion of the trial had been transcribed. Counsel was thus left to prepare this motion with neither the pleadings and case file held in the court's chambers nor any transcript of the proceedings. Okay, the public docket, for instance, reflects no motions in Lyman and would suggest to any reader that no substantive pretrial litigation occurred. An impression, the sequestration of the file left no fair opportunity to test in the time allowed. Okay, now they had like 30 days to get all this stuff done. Okay, because you have like 30 days specifically if you're going to file for inadequate counsel, right? These things have to be done within 30 days in Texas. So this is kind of hard to do when you don't even have the transcripts for the trial. And I do believe that I read to you all last week, I think that there was a report that I saw that said the transcripts wouldn't even be ready until the end of July, possibly the beginning of August. Now, mind you, the trial's been over weeks. How does this even make any sense? And this is all by design, in my opinion, because they were basically trying to sabotage the appeals process. That's what it's giving. Okay, that's what it's giving. And then telling the defense, the new attorneys, that certain information is only available and it's in the judge's chambers, and that's the only place you can see it. And if you see it, you have to promise you're not going to repeat or say what was in there to anybody. How stupid is that? Okay, and they're absolutely right, because why would you make such a promise or commitment when you don't even know what you're about to see? Okay, this is all crazy. These people are some real crooks, and they need to be in jail, not working in the judicial system. That's for darn sure. But how many times have I told you all that the criminal justice system is literally run by criminals? Okay, please pay attention. Now, so anyway, it goes on to say the defendant's entitlement to a new trial rests on his Sixth Amendment right to a public trial. And he didn't really have a public trial because there was no cameras allowed in. Now, the court's off-record sealing confirms that public access was materially restricted in both the courtroom and the case file, and that the restriction was structural rather than incidental. And by impairing the defendant's ability to prepare this motion on a complete record, it worked a distinct unfairness, okay, that reinforces the need for relief. The resulting violation is structural. So this is what they did all by design. They were even trying to mess them up on filing for an appeal, okay, and filing these motions and all of that. Now let's talk about this gag order. Okay, it reinforces the need for a hearing and shows the cumulative restriction on public access. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, with that all being said, okay, here we go. Now, here we go right here, because this is where it gets real interesting. So the physical closure did not operate alone. From July the 28th of 2025 through the verdict, every person with firsthand knowledge of this case, the parties, their attorneys, the witnesses, expert consultants, agents, spokespersons, law enforcement, and court staff, was forbidden on pain of contempt from making any statement that addresses the character, credibility, expected testimony, guilt, or innocence of any party or witnesses, or that intends or is likely to influence public opinion or potential jurors. Now, a prior restraint of that breadth is presumptively unconstitutional under Article 1, Section 8 of the Texas Constitution, which provides greater rights for free expression than its federal equivalent. And it survives only upon specific findings supported by evidence. Okay. Number one, an imminent and irreparable harm to the judicial process will deprive litigants of a just resolution of their dispute. The second thing is the judicial action represents the least restrictive means to prevent that harm. And then they list several cases. Now, the July 28th order findings fail that test on their face. A finding that media coverage has the potential to cause imminent and irreparable harm is a finding of possibility, not imminence. Okay, the speculation Davenport forbids. Okay, so yeah, he was speculating. He doesn't know what was going to happen. He's talking about irreparable harm. See, here's the thing. Why would he say that it could potentially cause irreparable harm? Well, that's because of all the lies they told and all the shady things they did. For example, Toby Shook having worked with Bill Werski, the assistant DA, and they had a whole firm together years ago. That's conflict of interest. And then all the other things that we heard. Now, was the judge actually, friends with the Metcalfs? That's never been substantiated, but it was something that was out there. Okay. And then the fact that they didn't bring in the weapon, they didn't have any expert witnesses for the defense, and all of these different things. Okay. And let's not forget how he basically threatened the jurors. Okay, he basically threatened the jurors, in my opinion, when he told them that if they didn't come to a conclusion that specific day, that they would be sequestered and they would be in a hotel. They wouldn't be able to go home. They wouldn't have TV. They couldn't have phones, no internet, and all of that. Now, who wants to deal with it? And especially when you don't know how long that's going to be the case. So I believe that's why they came rushing back with a verdict in less than 3 hours. Okay, so anyway, and then they talk about a restraint is not the least restrictive means where the court's own order catalogs the lesser tools and the court's own trial deploys them. Hold on, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the part where they talk about that secret deal that they made. They made a deal that wasn't written down. Hold on, page 50. Okay, I got it. Yeah, this is what I want to get to. And this is the last point I'm going to make before we move on. But here's the thing. 112. Okay, here we go. Like, sub, everyone, please like and share. Now, listen to this. This is when I told you all shady backdoor deals were made and all of that behind closed doors. So before and during the trial, the state and the defense operated under an unwritten understanding that certain character and extraneous offense evidence would be excluded and would not be offered at trial. Did y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? So basically saying that certain things would not be discussed. Basically, if a witness for the state got up there and testified, then the unwritten agreement was that when the defense comes to question them, he's not going to go in on them. He's not going to really try to pick apart what they've already testified to. Okay, and that absolutely would only be done for several reasons. One of those reasons that would be done is because you'd be afraid, as a defense attorney, you may be afraid that the person is going to, you may be afraid that by doing so, you're going to reiterate something that the state has already presented. For example, if the witness says something that's really bad for the defense's side, and then you try to go in on them, that might come back around full circle, and then now you're reiterating what they've already said, or it could make it worse for you, for the defense. But that wasn't the case. So why would he do it? Well, the other reason is because you're trying to sabotage your own client. Okay, and if you're trying to purposely sabotage your own client, that's a violation of the said client's Sixth Amendment, okay, which is the right to a fair trial. Okay, and that's what this is all about. And see, this is why I was saying that these people who are sitting there talking about, oh, he's guilty, he needs to get more time. Here's the thing. When you have an unfair trial in a whole kangaroo court and you've been railroaded, it doesn't matter if you're guilty or innocent anymore. It does not matter. In the eyes of the law, like I've told you all before, what matters is due process and your right to a fair trial. Okay, that's under the Constitution. So if you even are guilty, but you didn't get a fair trial. Yeah, you can absolutely get a new one. And if you get a new one, guess what? You just may not be found guilty, even if you actually are. People have absolutely walked and been whole guilty people because of unfair trials and judicial processing. Okay, but let's continue. So now it goes on to say that in reliance on that understanding, hold on, let me back up. Okay, before and during the trial, the state and defense operated under an unwritten understanding that certain character and extraneous offense evidence would be excluded and would not be offered at trial. Let me say that too. I just thought about something. So when they're saying understanding that certain character and extraneous offense evidence would be excluded and would not be offered a trial. So guess what they're saying? This is why he didn't call any character witnesses for Karmelo. This is why. Because he made an unwritten rule that he wouldn't do that. And you know why he wouldn't do that? Because he's also saying in this that not only is he not going to call character witnesses, and there's also going to be certain evidence that he won't bring in, and that would be the character. Let me just put it to you like this so you can understand it in layman's terms. So basically, you know, all that stuff that we heard about Austin and Hunter being bullies, and how we heard about what happened to the cheerleaders, and how they were allegedly harassing a student from Emerson High the day of the track meets, and that's why they were mad at Karmelo. All of those things would be able to be left out because they had an unwritten rule. They had a whole understanding that we're not going to have certain character and extraneous offense evidence to be brought in. It's all going to be excluded. So that means not only would they not give character witnesses for Karmelo to tell what kind of a good person he was, that he saved someone's life, his grade point average, that he was the captain of the football and the track team, that he had numerous offers for scholarships, and that he was even taking college courses while still in high school. They wouldn't be able to bring any of that up. That's damaging to his client and beneficial to the state. Now, let me tell you, he absolutely did this on purpose. If anyone had a doubt, there it is. Okay, because first of all, why are you having an unwritten understanding? Everything should be written out. That's for number one, but they didn't want to have proof, clearly. Okay, and then also, the fact of the matter is, and I bet you they probably didn't even know that these lawyers would dig deep and find all of this. Who knows what they were thinking? Maybe they thought it would never get this far. But the bottom line is they basically made a deal so that they would not enter in any character evidence on Austin and Hunter. Because if they had come in there and they were bringing out the fact that they were previous bullies, that they got into all this trouble in school, that they've been kicked off the track team, now the question is, why were they even there that day? They weren't running track. Mello was supposed to be running that day. I think the 800 or something, but they were not on the track team any longer. And they were bullies and all of this and many other things that people have said about them. Okay. None of those things were allowed to be brought in because they made this agreement. That's what they did. Okay, I want you all to pay attention how low down that is. Yeah, he definitely needs to be in jail. And after this is all over, I hope that Anthony sue him and sue that judge. That's exactly what I would do. Okay, that's exactly what I would do. Win, lose, or draw. Because if you remember, what happened in the case with Suzanne Wooten, who they ran a game on back in 2008? She sued them after she won her appeal and got her convictions overturned. She sued them and won. And that's exactly what they need to do. Okay, because this is all so darn crazy and so low down. But let's keep going. So goes on to say that in reliance on that understanding, the defense made strategic commitments that it could not later retract. So the defense couldn't come back later and say, well, you know what? It's not looking so good for my client. I'm going to have to go back on that. He already agreed to it. He knew what he was doing, dirty dog. These people are so low down, honey. I mean, it is absolutely amazing the lengths that they have gone to. Now, with that all being said, it goes on to say, it conducted voir dire and the selection of the jury, delivered its opening statement, and cross-examined the state's witnesses, including foregoing questioning it would otherwise have pursued concerning the night. The night. They didn't even bring in the night. Okay, so let's look over that again. It conducted voir dire. And you know, voir dire is a process when they have the jurors, they ask them certain questions and decide who they're going to pick and all of that. And then the selection of the jury delivered its opening statement and cross-examined the state's witness, including foregoing questions it would otherwise have pursued concerning the knife. So foregoing questions, what does that mean in layman's terms? I'm so glad you asked. That means that they literally made an agreement that they would not ask, or that the defense would not ask certain questions of the state's witnesses. And specifically, they wouldn't ask about that darn knife. Now, if this is a murder case and you're telling us, according to what Greg Willis, the prosecutor, the DA, what he said, that Karmelo plunged that knife into Austin's chest. Now, if you wanted to go that route, why would you not bring in the weapon? Why would you not bring in the weapon? You know why they wouldn't bring the weapon in? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't think that Karmelo did it. I don't think Karmelo did it. Sure don't. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think Karmelo did it. I think somebody else accidentally did it, like I've been telling you all, either Hunter or Eddie, accidentally, because they were all swinging. And Melo got out of there, and they didn't even know that Melo was gone. They were still swinging. We saw it. So here's the thing. What in the hell did they throw into that trash can? And then somebody later came back and retrieved it. Was that what Austin was killed with? Think about it. Because if the weapon that Karmelo had, the tool, was not what killed Austin, that would be a good reason for them not to bring it in as evidence. Because I'm telling you, if someone stabbed my client, if I'm a defense attorney and someone stabbed, not my client, but if my client was accused of stabbing someone to death, I would want the prosecution to prove it by bringing in forensic evidence. I'm going to need DNA. I'm going to need fingerprints. And you darn sure going to have to bring that weapon in. Okay, and my client is going to testify so he can get up there and tell us what he was thinking. Okay, and I'm going to have all kinds of expert witnesses. These are all things that Mike Howard did not bother to do. You all hear this? Ooh, honey, these people have been doing this stuff for years. How much you want to bet? They did it in 2008, okay, to Suzanne Wooten. You think that was the last time they did it until now? They've been doing this. Now, I can sit here and just wonder how many Black people have been railroaded, or white people that pissed them off like Suzanne Wooten did. How many people have been railroaded by them down there in this little Southern Fried Homicide and Southern Fried Justice town where they do these things at? Okay, this has probably been going on. Okay, and I showed you all the pictures on the wall of all the former DAs and judges, and they were all white. They were all white. I want y'all to pay attention. These people have a whole little system going. You know what? This is giving Rico. Okay, because you know Chris King was on here the other day. I had him on, and yeah, he was saying, if I'm not mistaken, he and someone else said that this is giving Rico. Because are they running a whole criminal enterprise? Okay, serving up Southern Fried Justice and sending people to prison under false pretenses and unlawful convictions? I think they are. I think they are. Okay. Yeah, that's right. The good old boys club. This is all so nefarious, but let's keep going because we're almost done. Secret backdoor deal. So anyway, goes on to say, including foregoing questioning that it would otherwise have pursued concerning the knife. So they just went on past, skirted past that. Now, on the assumption that the agreed upon evidence would not be introduced. Under the assumption that the agreed upon evidence would not be introduced. The knife wasn't introduced. The understanding was never reduced to writing or placed on the record. So they did this in secret. It was not in writing or placed on the record. That's what I'm telling y'all. They had backdoor deals going on. Didn't I tell y'all that? I knew it. I told y'all that before these files even came out. I want y'all to pay attention. Now, the agreement by its terms covered the defendant's own testimony. What? Every description the lead prosecutor gave defined the understanding by reference to what happened under the tent, and the defendant was himself an eyewitness to those events. The defense therefore understood by the plain meaning of the prosecutor's words that the defendant could testify to the incident just as any other witnesses without opening the door to character, reputation, or extraneous offense evidence. In reliance on the agreement, the defense forbore throughout the state's case from the cross-examination it otherwise would have conducted, declining to confront the state's student witnesses with their own prior statements describing the complaint's aggression, such as that Austin Metcalf was kind of like the aggressive guy on the team. Mason Nordic must have said that. That's the person's name. That he got triggered. Edwin Parra, that's Eddie. And that Austin and Hunter are not going to let you disrespect them. Jose Mora said that. That if Austin is about to get into a fight, you can tell. Luke Stevens said this. And that Austin can be a bit aggressive at times. Tiffany Whitaker said that. And in the same reliance, the defense declined to designate or call in neuropsychology and forensic psychology experts, introduced none of these subjects during voir dire or opening statement, and limited its punishment presentation to 3 pre-agreed questions of the defendant's mother. Are you kidding me? Now, do y'all hear this? Now, that man sat right there, Mike Howard, with his low-down self. He sat there when they asked him, wasn't it TMZ where he did the interview or whatever? When he spoke to them, he basically said, when asked, did you tell Karmelo Anthony not to testify? And he said, I can't get into that because of attorney-client privilege. And then he said, how did he put it? He said, but the final decision whether or not to testify is up to the client. Now, Karmelo has never been in trouble before. He's never probably even been in a courtroom to even watch or spectate before. So what is he going to do at the age of 19? And his parents, they don't know about this kind of stuff. They're going to listen to what the attorney advises. And also the good bishop, okay, their pastor, their bishop, he basically said that they were tricked. That Mike Howard had them thinking there was some secret evidence that if Karmelo gets up there and testifies, this evidence is going to come out. Okay? All lies and BS. He made a backdoor deal. And that's why Karmelo didn't get up there and testify. Because he easily could have done so without his background. Anyway, he didn't have a background. The Metcalfs did. But nonetheless, he could have gotten up there and testified. And this man didn't want him to. Because he knew that was going to negatively impact the case. And that's what he was trying to do. Okay? And also, I want you all to pay attention because they said that he declined to designate or call its neuropsychology and forensic psychology experts, introduced none of these subjects during the voir dire or opening statement, and limited its punishment presentation to 3 pre-agreed questions of the defendant's mother. So here's the thing that they did. So I told you all that they should have had many experts. They should have had a self-defense expert, a psychologist. I told you all that, and that's what they're saying in forensic psychology. They should have had those people in there to testify to what his mind state possibly could have been. They should have had someone in there who was a medical doctor to explain what happens when you have epilepsy. Okay, what could possibly happen when you're a person who's epileptic and how you could get traumatized or get a head trauma, blunt force trauma, a fall, a slip, or anything. And it was wet outside that day. They were on bleachers, kind of high up. He could have fallen down, hurt himself, been injured, had a seizure, even died. I already told you all, I gave you all the information on that. So with that all been said, he didn't bring anyone in to even substantiate those things. And in fact, remember, the judge said that he didn't even want them talking about the epilepsy. Okay, they didn't even bring up the fact that Karmelo had injured his shoulder and had surgery, okay, and was recuperating the day of the fight. None of that was brought in. And then when it talks about and limited its punishment presentation to 3 pre-agreed questions of the defendant's mother. So all he planned to do was bring in Mrs. Anthony and have her go up there, and he asked her 3 little questions about her son to attest to his character. Now, we all know that your mother's going to get up there and speak good for you, but she got up there and was so distraught that she broke down and cried and simply begged them to have mercy on her son. She didn't talk about all of the wonderful things about him because she was so traumatized, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, had they brought it in, even I'm going to let you all hear what the pastor says, because he did an interview with someone the other day. I forget the guy's name, but I'm going to show you all some of it in a minute. But here's the thing. Now, the pastor said that they should have called him in to attest to his character. And that's true. Who better to call in than your pastor, than the lady whose child he saved? Teachers, coaches. And then just the other day, there was his boss. I don't know if it's his boss from Foot Locker, because they say he had 2 jobs. This was a hardworking young man, okay? But the lady that was his boss spoke to somebody. I did not read that to you all. And she basically talked about what a good person he was and how he was not problematic and he was real scary. And she even told him one time, I know you're not playing football. You're too scary. You're scared of your own shadow. And he was like, no, I'm actually pretty good. But she was just talking about what kind of person he was and how he was a good person. Never was called. And then there was an attorney who reached out to the woman whose child that Karmelo saved a few years ago and asked if the defense had even reached out to her for her to come in and testify as to his character. She said no one had contacted her. This was all sabotaging. Okay, this is all sabotaging. DC Fly says yes, Foot Locker, 1.5 years she's known him. Okay, thank you, beloved. Okay, this is all so crazy. This is all so sad. That young man is sitting in jail with a 35-year sentence hanging and looming over his head. And I don't even think that he is the one who killed Austin. I really don't. I don't think he killed Austin. I absolutely don't. I think that the fact that somebody else did it, I think that's the reason for all of this whole cover up. That's what I think, because that makes sense to me. Okay, that makes sense to me. Now, with that all being said, and if I had to go out on a limb, I might even think that it's Hunter. Okay? Because is that why they didn't want Hunter to testify? We already know that he spoke to the media and said things that contradicted what the students said when they testified. Okay, I just have so many questions. This just doesn't sit right at all. So, with that all being said, I'm going to stop it right there. But as you all can see, there was a whole lot of shady things going on. Okay, a whole lot of lies being told. This man didn't bring in not one expert witness. This is all crazy. Just so low down. Do you know how mad I would be? I would be absolutely livid. And the thing is, once the trial got started, the judge wasn't likely going to let them fire the attorney and get someone else. Okay, he definitely wasn't going to do that. Okay, not in my opinion. Now let's go to this video on the pastor. He was on 607 UNC. I'm going to start at around the 20-minute mark. Okay, here we go. Lights up, everyone, please like and share. This is such a travesty of justice. Okay, such a travesty of justice. Okay, Nick Knight says, I agree with you, Queen. You're brilliant. You would have made an excellent lawyer. You missed your true calling. Thank you, beloved. You know what? I really did. Because I wanted to be a lawyer ever since I was 7 years old. I literally did. That's why I went to school for criminal justice. Because I intended to be a lawyer. And somewhere along the way, I just changed my mind and decided to do something different. But that's exactly what I should have done. Because this right here, just seeing things like this right here is just really so upsetting. I feel like I need to be out there, boots on the ground. I might go back. I might go to law school. I don't know, honey. Okay? 4 more years is not that long, really. Now, with that being said, let's go to this video. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. And thank you for your kind words, beloved. I appreciate you. Okay? Marie said, you still can do it. I just might. I really am inclined to, because after seeing all this stuff that they do to our people, this is just not it. This is just not it. Okay, so now let's get into it. Now, this is Karmelo Anthony's bishop.
Okay, watch this here. You think he intended to stick him in the heart? The boy, when he did it, or if he fell on how they try to say it, or he stuck, it don't even matter. We do know it came from his book bag. Watch this here. Here's the fact though. The boy, when he ran, he told the police or the coach, he said, you know, if he died, it's gonna change your life. He said, oh, he'll be okay. He didn't know that he stabbed him to death. A murderer knows when he kills intent. Then he said, he asked him, is he all right? A murderer don't ask nobody, is they all right? I come to kill. So when people don't focus on the fact, they only try to draw a thought in your mind to manipulate the situation. And that's why if you can't think for yourself, you'll be just like some of these blacks that don't invest the situation, and you be like some of these white that don't invest the situation. Right. The only thing they're saying, oh, this guy, this one lady, I don't know what that heifer name is. She gonna say, these guys, they mad, trying to protect a murder. I don't think she was saying he told him 15 times to move. Here's a good guy, but they never say this. Nobody never say this. Why Anthony didn't just leave him alone? Why he never go get no authority? Why did he put his hands on him? What make him think that he can make him move once he seen that he wasn't gonna move? Then watch this. They never talked about how the boy sat down. If the boy wanted some trouble, he wouldn't just sit down and allow him to walk up on him. He would have stood up, say, come on, come on. He just sat there hoping he can sell it.
Now, let me say something. That's a very good point. Okay, that is a very good point. Did you all even think about that? Karmelo, they kept saying that he was seated the whole time, right? How is it that they try to paint him as the provocateur? Oh, let me just say this too. This is what I forgot to tell you all about those documents. Another thing that I read in the documents in the motion was that the judge gave basically inadequate juror instructions. He basically told the jurors, and I knew he did something shady because I'm like, how are they finding him guilty of murder and they've never proven intent? There's no mens rea. They didn't talk about that. Malice aforethought. Okay, actus reus. None of those things that would draw the conclusion or bring you to the conclusion that the person intended, that this is what they willfully tried to do. They never proved that, right? But one thing that I read in there is about the provocation. Remember how I told you all that Mike Howard kept saying to the witnesses, not Mike Howard, Greg Willis. He kept asking each witness that before they left the stand, who was the provocateur or who provoked it? Austin or Karmelo? And they all said Karmelo. Even the one who said that Karmelo was picked up by Austin in a linebacker move. Because remember, they took him to the judge's chambers. When he came back, he had a whole different attitude, allegedly, according to what people there said. Okay? But even he said that Karmelo was the one who provoked the whole thing. Now, what did the judge tell the jurors? He told the jurors that if he was the provocateur, he can't claim self-defense. You see how he did that? You see how they did that? They worked together in concert, in unison. They should all be locked the hell up. Okay? The judge told the jurors that if he is the provocateur, he cannot then be claiming self-defense. That's what he did to take away his self-defense claim. That's what he did. And this is why Greg Willis asked each one of those people, which he had no business asking them, as I told you all when it was happening, when we were reading over the notes from the journalist who attended. I was telling you all then that he's not supposed to be doing that, and that in fact, Mike Howard or Toby Shook should have been objecting on the grounds of speculation. They're not experts. These are high schoolers. What do they know about self-defense, the difference between self-defense and murder? Okay, it may sound simple. You may think it's a simple explanation, but they don't know the law like that. And so they asked them every time, and Mike Howard never objected, not once. Okay, not once. And also, not only did he not object because he was purposely trying to lose the case, and I'm not going to say allegedly, that's what he was trying to damn do. Okay, that's what he was trying to do. But the bottom line is, Not only was he trying to lose the case, he was also trying to mess it up for them on appeal. Because you do know that when you want to appeal a conviction, you make certain things, you put certain things on the record during the trial. Okay, so that in case you do lose and you need to file an appeal, you already made a note of this. It's already on the record that this is what happened. Mike Howard didn't do any of that. He was trying to sabotage the appeal process as well. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. These people are low down and dirty. And so for the judge to tell the jurors that if he's the provocateur, then he can't claim self-defense, he really gave them inadequate, incorrect instructions, okay, on the murder. And as it pertained when they had I think they put in manslaughter at the last minute, or criminally negligent homicide. Okay, I'm quite sure he gave them the wrong instructions on that as well. Okay, he had to have done something shady. I knew it, because how otherwise could they come back and talk about murder? Okay, if he gave them the correct instructions, anybody in their right mind who has just common sense, you don't even need critical thinking skills, should have been able to know that that was not murder. Okay, that was not murder. Murder has a guilty mind. It's the intent. When a person lays in wait, when a person plots and plans, and they methodically have it all made up that this is what they're going to do. There was none of that. Karmelo was concerned about what happened after the fact. He didn't think it was that serious. He didn't even think that probably didn't even think that he was seriously hurt. But even still, he asked about his well-being, and he only tried to stab him once. If somebody's trying to kill you, they're going to keep stabbing you until somebody pulls them off. Another thing is, like the bishop just said, Karmelo was seated the entire time. Now, I don't know about you all, but if somebody walks up on me in an aggressive manner, especially more than one person, I'm going to stand up real quick. I'm going to stand up. I mean, even if I know I'm outnumbered and I can't win, I'm still going to stand up, because you have a better chance of defending yourself standing on your feet than sitting down with 4 towering figures that weigh 80 pounds plus more than you each standing over you. Okay? So how is he the aggressor? How was he the one that provoked this whole thing? He didn't. And they just lied and flipped the narrative. Okay, but let's continue. This is all so low down.
He was saying, long you don't touch me. A real murder don't let you know what he got. He trying to sell it. He said, ain't nothing in there. He really thought he was trying to say he ain't got no gun up in there, because kids don't carry knife, they carry gun. And so he said, this is Frisco. This was Austin said before he got killed. So he went and tried to snatch the bag and touch him. Not only snatched the bag, but grabbed him. At the same, after he snatched the bag. Here's the fact. What if a weapon was in there, like a gun? That's self-defense. Why? It's because you're trying to take something out from me that you think is a weapon in there. So he went to snatch the bag first, then he grabbed them. That's ill self-defense. That you can't argue with that, because the first step to self-defense, if you're trying to grab something that you think that can harm you, or you can use it to harm somebody with it. That's why.
So he could have harmed, if he would have got the knife, got the bag, he could have harmed him with it.
Come on.
That makes sense.
Come on.
That makes sense.
Come on, man.
That makes sense.
Come on, man.
Right.
Because he said himself, look what he say, He said, this is Frisco. You ain't got nothing in that bag. But a lawyer that had in a sense could have brought this out. Nobody brought that out. He went to grab the bag.
With the weapon.
Yeah, with the weapon in.
So whoever control the weapon gonna hurt somebody with the weapon.
Hurt somebody with the weapon. But Karmelo having to have it in his hand. You see what I'm saying?
He thought it was in the bag.
He thought it was in the bag. That's why he snatched the bag first. That's why they didn't bring his brother in the courtroom. That's why they didn't allow people to see the original video. Black people, all I'm telling the black people, this is what I'm saying, man. I'm not telling the black people get in their emotion. I'm telling them, look at the fact. I'm talking about the Uncle Tom, the one time he deserved 35 years. He deserved 35 years if he intent to kill somebody. Yes, you can't put no value on life if you're a murderer, right. But if you protect yourself, that's why they did not want to change the fact that they could have given manslaughter. He even deserved manslaughter. To be honest, if they want to certify both kind, both race, okay, give him manslaughter. But in reality, that boy sat down, minding his own business, and anybody, any kid that's for real, you ain't gonna let nobody make you get in the rain if right. You got a little bit of a man about yourself.
Right. I get
Come
the
on.
part. I get the part. But you said that he asked, and I want to go back to this. You said he asked, "Is he okay?" Right.
Yes.
So are you saying that he didn't die right away?
He didn't know. Karmelo that thought he might have got stuck.
So he died right away. So he did.
Yeah, he did die, but he didn't know it. Unfortunately, it hit him in the heart. This how you know people are real. This how every Caucasian person, and I love white people. My best friend is white, but I stand up for what's right. These people have no compassion for facts. You're talking about you're a Christian, but you don't have compassion and forgiveness.
You're a Christian.
Okay, what did Jesus say? Forgive them for what they know not what they do. Here, Jesus on the cross. They killing him. In the process, he praying for him. He didn't say, Father, give him 35 years. He said, forgive them for what they know, not what they do.
Right.
We're a Christian, but we run around with unforgiving. I don't care if it's black or white. Majority people that call they Christian, they Ku Klux Klan kill in the name of Jesus. Brought us on a boat called the name of Jesus. Cause they hide behind a Christian name don't mean they're a Christian.
Right.
I'm getting tired of folks getting on TV. We a good Christian family. And I brought my son. Did you teach your son love?
Right.
Did you?
Yeah, because Jeff Metcalf claims to be a Christian, okay? He claims to be a Christian, but he called Karmelo a watermelon felon and said all those disparaging things about black folk, okay? Please pay attention.
You teach your son not to get up on people and get in their space? Did you teach your son when somebody that's been aggressive or whatever to walk away? Did you treat your son that sometimes you got to do things different? Do you teach your son? The Bible says if a man take your hat, give him your coat also. If you teaching your son to be a Christian, how is it that we got here? I'm going to tell you what it is. You're trying to make your son look like he just a good kid. He just like any other kid. He around other kids that's laughing, playing. They can't tell me nobody pull no cameras out. People pull their cameras out for anything. What they did, they outthink us. They came and got those kids' phone, and anything that could jeopardize the case, they deleted it, or they didn't bring it in the court, and the judge didn't bring. If we do the right evidence, we can get the fact. They still got him in their phone, everything in the cloud. If that was a good lawyer, he should have had everybody's phone possible. He could have had it, the judge, to get those phones and bring them to the court. I'm pretty sure when the killing happened, they stopped everybody, didn't let nobody leave for the evidence.
Right. Well, speaking about the lawyer, listen, if you're watching this.
Hold on, let me say this too. Now, I mentioned the thing about the phones as well, but here's the thing. He didn't even need to get their phones. He could have gotten in touch with their phone providers, with their service providers, and subpoenaed the records, okay, and gotten everything that was in the cloud, anything that had already been deleted or whatever. That would have been the best route to take, but Mike Howard didn't even do that, and I told you all that. So this man clearly was not doing his job. You're not going to sit here and tell me that you've been voted the best criminal defense attorney in Dallas 10 years in a row, ever since 2016, and you made this many hiccups. You did it on purpose, period.
The lawyer has been a ongoing topic. People are saying that the lawyer didn't do the proper job. Other people saying the lawyer didn't have a job to do because he was already guilty because he actually did stab him. But Charleston White, right, will be the person that they're saying told the father to get this attorney that he has.
Hold on, let me read this Cash App, the super chat. Super chats. Pua says, please read M. Howard's affidavit. It will make you cry to hear what they did to that baby. Okay, beloved, you have that. Can you send it to me? Send it to me in my email, QueenAhmadiyyah@gmail.com, beloved. And thank you for that. I'll definitely want to read that. And also thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
Charlie White didn't do that. Charlie White might have done said, everybody got their opinion. Charlie White might have told him that in that city. Let me tell y'all something. If you're not from Frisco, please, if you're not from that city, county, and if you don't know what's going on, you're going on the outside. It's majority of Caucasian. I don't know if they got one black judge there. It may be two the most. Everything is Caucasian. Let me tell y'all something. Let's be honest. You think he gonna get a fair trial? Look at the percentage. Let's be honest. And in a county like that, that's known for convicting
Right.
majority.
And we're gonna get to that.
Okay.
But the lawyer, right?
The lawyer.
How did he get his attorney?
I don't think his daddy told me, and they getting on his daddy. A lot of people coach his daddy to pick. Them folks are not from here. They're not from Dallas. Hey, get this lawyer. This is a good lawyer. And I think, I'm being honest, I think the lawyer tried to fight the case, but I don't think he did a good job. Because if he did a good job, even on the sentence arrangement, he should have called me as a character witness. He could have called the school teacher. He could have called people that know this young man. Everybody know the mother gonna say, have mercy on my son. He didn't even try to put enough thoughts in the people's mind to at least make a decision on, should we give this boy 35 years? There's nothing to convince them. They already came in there thinking that we ain't finna let him get away.
Right.
Let me tell you all something. I feel like this would have been an easy case to win because you just need one juror. Okay, you just need one to find reasonable doubt. And there were so many instances where he could have proven reasonable doubt. Let me just give you a few of them. Okay, Scoop says America has always put their problems on us. Absolutely, beloved. But then they want to say that we put ours on them. Funny thing is, they are the source of many of our problems. They don't want to face it, but it's the truth. Starting with the distribution of wealth that they stole from us and gave to themselves. Okay, back in the Jim Crow era when our families had all this land and all of that. I'm not going to get into it, but we'll talk about that on another live. Okay, but thank you for your insight, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, with that all being said, there were like a myriad of things that I was telling you all that Mike Howard could have done that he just failed to do. Okay, and it was all by design, like I said. Okay, like for example, he could easily have proven or given the jurors reasonable doubts if he had gone in on the witnesses. They were up there changing their stories, and I told you all, this is not what they said in their statements to the detectives right after it happened. So had he brought that evidence in and said, well, didn't you say this and didn't you say this? Well, why are you changing your story? Well, are you confused? I mean, he should have really gone in on them. Now, he did ask some of them about, oh, well, didn't you say this before? But he did it so nice and sweet with kid gloves, according to the information we got from journalists who were actually there. But he should have really gone in on them, in my opinion. Okay, because you're up here lying. Okay, and if somebody's lying on my client, okay, I'm gonna have it in for you. That's just what it is. I'm not gonna bully you. I'm not gonna badger the witnesses, but I would definitely be speaking in a stern voice, okay, and giving them direct eye contact to make them too nervous to keep lying to my face. Okay, that's what I would have done. And he didn't do any of that. Okay, he didn't do any of that. Another thing is, not only by the fact that that he didn't ask them, he didn't go in on them during cross-examination or whatever, but also he should have said something about the fact that the knife wasn't there, that the state didn't even introduce the weapon. He should have definitely shown that film, the first film, the original film, the one that was so clear that it was in 4K, not the one that they ended up showing. He should have showed the original film. Okay, and then made the argument. Now, this definitely could have won the case, and made the argument that you see all of these people up there swinging. How do you know for a fact? Who's to say that Karmelo is the one that's actually stabbed him? Okay, who's to say that Karmelo's the only one who stabbed him? And if he had actually watched the video like many of us did, we saw the bad footage, the grainy footage, but we still saw somebody run into a trash can, throwing something in there, somebody later come and take it out. He could have brought up all of that. What would the jury have been thinking? I guarantee they would have been thinking, well, wait a minute. What did they put in the trash can? Why don't they have the knife here? They're saying that he was stabbed with a 3.5-inch knife. Okay, why wouldn't they bring the knife in? Is there DNA that was on the knife? Or was there any fingerprints? And now some people might say, well, Karmelo admitted to it because he said, I'm not alleged, I did it. Karmelo didn't say I stabbed him. He didn't say I killed him. He said, I'm not alleged I did it. So for all we know, and his lawyer could easily have said this, okay, because that's what lawyers do to make their case. They say whatever they need to say. Now, the lawyer could have simply said that when Karmelo went and talked to the police officers and was saying that I'm not alleged I did it, he was basically saying that I'm the one that was involved in the altercation. Yeah, it's me. I'm right here. He could have downplayed that any type of way, or he could have even gotten it stricken from the record because Karmelo had not been read his Miranda rights when he made that, which also I told you all that could be considered an excited utterance. And if something is an excited utterance, that means it has to be uttered right after the initial situation occurred, not days or hours later. But if you say something right after an incident like that happens due to trauma or just shock or just different things, you may say something that you don't mean. He could easily have argued that. He could easily have argued that and gotten that thrown out. It would not have even been allowed to be admissible. Okay, that he even said that. He could have easily won this case. I mean, it's like he just didn't want to. That's the fact of the matter. He just didn't want to. And for all of these MAGA minions who are saying things like, oh, well, Mike Howard, he did a good job. He just didn't have much to work with. He had a whole lot to work with. Okay, he had a whole, that's how much they don't know about the law, or they just don't care about facts and truth. Because we know they don't care about facts and truth. They listen to Fox News. Well, the bottom line is he could easily have won this case if only he put forth just a little effort. Okay, it wouldn't even have taken much.
That's why they picked a jury with no blacks on it.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna talk about. So his daddy got him the lawyer. When he got the lawyer, how did daddy get the money for the lawyer? Did it come through like donations or
there were
things
people
like that?
fundraising? You know, they seen a black kid that people felt that did give. It might be whites gave, but they felt like something don't make sense. It don't add up. Right. If this kid is under 10, nobody that got a good heart gonna condemn him for being on a tent when it's raining. Right. Nobody gonna condemn him because he sat there and didn't listen to another kid. Right.
So we
now I want you all to think about, had that been a white child, had that been a white child sitting under that tent and it's raining, and then you're telling him to get out from under there, 4 big black dudes, and then one of them punches him or pushes him hard enough for him to fall off the seat, and then he takes out something and stabs him, guess what? This wouldn't even have been a thing. They would have absolutely said it was self-defense. I promise you that. Okay, now Azokatan says they can ping the cell phone towers, possibly pull photos or videos on the phones in the area that day, or recreate the scene with Google fences. There are so many things they could do, beloved. You're absolutely right. But he didn't do any of them. Okay, no digital or forensic evidence was even brought in. That's absolutely crazy. And this is how we know that he threw this case on purpose. Okay, this man has been a lawyer for decades, at least 2. Okay, I know for one, he was the best of the best, supposedly. Okay, so you're going to get up here and do this? This is amateurish. Okay, this is all amateurish BS. And thank you for insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
We getting in there, but I'm trying to set the whole scenery as far as like the father and as far as like the case, so people watching this can understand, right? So he get the lawyer, right? Was it any problems? Like, 'cause I know now they're saying he shouldn't have got that lawyer. Was anybody saying that during the time when he got the lawyer?
Oh, I did. I'm gonna be honest. I talked to his dad. Right. I told him to get Heath Harris, a black lawyer that's able to beat murder cases. I begged him. I plead with him. So that's why. But I don't knock him from the decision he made, because the first person that he felt like helped him, named Dominique Anderson, the young black guy that walked out with him in the court. Right. He did help him. My partner, my pastor friend, got him out of jail, named Corey Tony. No Limit Bail Bond is the one that got him out when he couldn't make the bond.
Right. And how much was it for him to get out?
I don't know. I think it was $1 million. Then it got down to 250,000. A black judge, and they got mad at her for lowering his bond, and they got him out. And got him out.
And how long?
Now that black lawyer, the black judge that lowered his bond, she started receiving death threats, as I told you all. Okay, and that's because the clerk at the court, the one that was fired, supposedly, it has been alleged that she's the one that leaked the woman's name, the judge's name, and then the woman got doxxed, and then people started threatening her and all of that. But let's continue.
Was he out before he went back to court?
A year.
So he was out. So the whole time he was out, he's coming to the church. You guys.
No, he didn't go. He couldn't go nowhere. His dad came, but he couldn't go nowhere because he was on a house arrest.
Right.
But
so what was that conversation like when he told you? Did he just tell you, no, I just can't change this lawyer?
Well, no. I was telling him he was going off people who was already in his ear before I got to him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He trusted them. You know, he felt like they would give him positive information, but I didn't. I said, man, you know, O.J. Simpson had 10 lawyers. You know what I'm saying? Other people have more than one lawyer. You go into a county that everybody don't think the same way. The more lawyers you have on your team, they gonna catch some that you might not catch.
Right.
Because you didn't catch the fact that when these kids came and testified against him, they said he touched him. Some say he grabbed him. You didn't put enough evidence out there to show the jury that they lying.
Right.
You saying they all had the same story. No, they didn't. They had different stories. A touch and grab like a football, two different stories.
Right. I'll get that part.
Another thing is Mike Howard was Karmelo's lawyer. So didn't he have Karmelo's side of the story? So of course he did. So when he was cross-examining the witnesses, you know that he didn't really want to go in on them because he could have easily repeated whatever Karmelo told him as it pertained to his side. Okay, that's what he could have done. If he wasn't going to have him testify, he could have at least said, are you sure this didn't happen? Or so there was no punches thrown? Are you sure there was no punches thrown? So nobody was hit? Karmelo wasn't hit in the face? I mean, they could have said all kinds of things. You can't lead the witness, but you know what I'm saying? He could have basically asked them things to trip them up, and he didn't do any of it. Okay, because we know that it was much more than a darn shove or a push.
So the lawyer situation, we can understand that. How was Mr. Anthony, how did he feel about the lawyer? Did he have a say?
Well, now he felt a whole lot of things because now his son got 35 years. He must have felt like, had confidence in him. He allowed him to take his son through a trial. I think the lawyer did a poor job, man. Let me be honest. I've been in the court system. I've been in trial for assault with a deadly weapon. I know what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to say. I know how you bring and carry the witness after you've been convicted. I know how you should have people that can pierce the heart of people that's already mad and angry. Right. You got people that's sitting up there, they ain't hearing nothing. They're not even hearing what nobody's saying. They're not hearing stand your ground.
Right.
They're not hearing it's a chance he could have bullied him.
Right.
They're only hearing one thing, he murdered.
Right.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If that man wanted to win that case, he could have absolutely done so. When they're talking about pay attention to this. When the witnesses were up there on the stand and they're talking about, oh, he just touched him. Like one person made it seem like he just literally just poked him, like he just tapped him on the shoulder, so to speak. And then they were saying, oh, Austin told him, I don't want to fight. Okay, so you march up 5 rows of bleachers, get right up in somebody's face, towering over them as they're sitting down, snatch their backpack, throw it, talking trash, I'm gonna beat your bitch ass. Isn't that what one of the witnesses claimed that he said, right? So with that being said, you don't want to fight, sir? If you don't want to fight, why are you being confrontational? Why are you in somebody's space and snatching bags and stuff? It was obvious he wanted to fight. So with that being said, Micah Howard could have put all kinds of holes in their story. He could have poked all kinds of holes in their story had he wanted to, okay? Because how does that make sense that you don't want to fight, but you're up here in this man's face and you're going in on him and throwing him, taking his belongings. And they even said that his phone was supposedly taken and thrown too. Okay, so but all of this is going on, but he's going to say, he didn't want to fight. The jurors should have known that they were lying. And if they did know, if I were the defense attorney, I would have made sure they knew, or at least they were wondering, did they really say that? Because all you have to do is cause a reasonable doubt. That's all you have to do. You don't have to prove it 100%. Just give them something to wonder about that makes them unsure. I would have said 4 towering figures over him. He's seated the whole time. Why would someone who's the provocateur, who's trying to start something, who's looking for trouble, first of all, why would they remain seated when people approach them? You don't think they would stand up and take on a defensive posture? There's a certain way you hold your feet, a certain way you stand, all of these things when you're ready to throw down. But he was seated. How does that make him a provocateur, the aggressor? Please explain. The jury would have had so many reasonable doubts by the time I got through. It would have been ridiculous. And this man knows darn well he could have done it, but he just chose not to. Mike Howard is low down and dirty. Okay, low down and dirty. Please pay attention.
Killed him. That's all they kept saying. He murdered him, murder him, murder. That's not a murder. It was an accident. It was a kill. Right. And he did it out of fear. Why? How you know he did it out of fear? Because he didn't stand up like a gangster. Right. He sat down.
Right. Right. We get that. So he sat down, didn't stand. He didn't stand up. That's very important information.
Very important.
Okay. So moving right along, but going back, he get the lawyer. Now he guilty. All right, Charleston White, right? He donated $75,000 to him, was really trying to help him.
Man, say what? What you say?
$75,000 to him,
really
trying to help
plan,
him. What am I planning for? Charleston White said it. Why would he say it if he's lying?
Okay, y'all, here's the thing that I don't like about
it. Did he really say why would Charleston White say it if he's lying? What? Charleston White is a liar who lies. And he said it to clout chase, in my opinion. I knew he wasn't going to give no $75,000. Does he even have $75,000? I seriously doubt it.
Charleston White said a whole lot of stuff, man. One thing y'all got to learn, I know Charleston White. Charleston White used to go to my church. Let me tell you, before he even got some money. Let me tell you something, man. Charleston White is very intelligent to say anything to draw attention. He said he got to say a little bit of this to get people to start supporting. He got to say a little. He confessed that things he say, it benefit him. Here's the problem. He ain't getting on anybody that done something. Either he doing it. Why he telling the whole world he get 75,000? And maybe he did it to hope that somebody else jump on the wagon and they give. That's a good move.
Why would the daddy even get in bed with Charleston White and everybody know how Charleston White is?
Well, his daddy have already spoke with me about Charleston White. And I said, well, one thing you can use Charleston White for as a benefit, social media is so powerful and strong. A lot of people listen to Charleston White, even if he telling the truth or not, even if he say something crazy, because the fool can say some good stuff.
So there's paying Charleston White.
Yeah, Charleston White, huh?
Charleston White getting paid for that?
No. Charleston White ain't that kind of guy. I ain't gonna say nothing that's a lie against him. Charleston White not into trying to play people out of money. You know what I'm saying? But he don't want nobody to try to play him either. If Charleston White sees something, he do have a heart for certain things if he sees something. But soon you go against him, he'll turn on you night and day.
Right. So what was their problem? Why did Charleston White end up turning on him?
Okay, I spoke with his dad. And his dad was letting me know Charleston White wanted to, again, trying to tell him how to handle this situation. The man that messed up once. He don't want to do it. If anything going to happen, the man going through it, he want to make his own decision. He don't want nobody, because you give me money, don't mean you tell me what to do. Because you help me raise money, that means you going to coach me and I got to do what you say. Come on, man. They don't work like that.
Charleston White, the reason why they got the case, that's how the case left Texas. It's Charleston White, right?
Okay. Say it did. No, it left Texas because it was nationally known. And that's how Charleston White came about running to the guy. I don't know if it threw me or Joker, but I sent I sent Joker over there to talk to Real Life Street Star to go and talk to the perm. He went over there several times, met the young.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there. Because I really don't care to hear about Charleston White. Okay, he's just nefarious as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so listen. Like I said, we can clearly see, and now that we have the documents, it's just so obvious to me that this is absolutely what we thought, a railroading, okay? A kangaroo court, all lies and BS. And Mike Howard should lose his license over this, okay? He should absolutely lose his license over this. Now, we're going to go to a couple of TikTok videos, and then we're going to be out of here, okay, beloveds? Make sure you like and share. I'm going to try to do a panel discussion sometime this weekend, either Friday or Saturday. I really like panel discussions because you get different viewpoints, and people's different takes on certain things or whatever. So I think I want to do a panel discussion about the Nolan case this weekend. Okay. And so anyway, let's continue. Lights up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. DJ The Truth TV said nefarious and low down. Exactly, beloved.
Let me get this right. So the prosecution and the defense attorney made a deal that they would only talk about what happened under that tent that day of the incident. And so because of this, Karmelo's attorney didn't cross-reference or bring up anything for them bullies past. And when I say bullies, I'm saying that because we already know they were some bullies. But because the prosecution manipulated the defense attorney and said, hey, if you don't bring up nothing bad about my client's past, I won't bring nothing bad up about your client's past. And they agreed to that.
Here's the thing, though. He was not manipulated. Mike Howard was not manipulated. He knew what he was doing. He was absolutely not manipulated. And here's the thing. There was no need for him to make that agreement because his client didn't have anything bad in his past. At the time this all happened, Karmelo was 17 years old. So was Austin. Karmelo was working 2 jobs, had a 3.7 GPA, playing football and running track, taking college courses and all of that. Okay, so he didn't have time for BS, quite frankly. And let's not forget how he was taking care and helping out with the disabled students on the track team. That's why he got to the track meet early that day. He was a good kid. There was nothing they could bring up about him that was bad. There was nothing that he had done that was anywhere near what Austin and Hunter have been accused of doing. So the only reason I could say that he made that deal is because he wanted to throw this case. And here's the thing. If you all remember, when I had another guest on the show, they basically said that Mike Howard was doing the case. He was doing right by the case at first. You know, he got the bail lowered and all that stuff or whatever. But then after he had a meeting with Greg Willis, allegedly, that's when the fix was in. That's when he had a whole nother agenda, and it was blatantly obvious, okay, according to people who attended the trial. So, but let's continue.
And the judge let that happen. Just for the defense attorney to get ready to call Karmelo and put him on the stand to testify in his own defense, for the prosecution to say, oh, well, thank you for holding up your end of the deal. But yeah, never mind. You put him up there, we finna railroad him. And y'all coerced this boy not to testify because of that deal. And all of this happened under Judge Roach's umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is what we're talking about. When we say that this trial was not a fair trial, we not stupid. Y'all violated that boy rights, and y'all think that we so stupid that we can't make 1 + 1 = 2. It's literally common sense. And this is the thing to the defense attorney. Why the hell would your stupid ass agree to that? That didn't benefit nobody.
Because he didn't want it to benefit him. He purposely did this. Now, she's talking as though he was manipulated. He was not manipulated. He knew what he was doing. Okay? He knew what he was doing, period. And then also about where she's saying that he wanted Karmelo to testify, and then the prosecution reminded him of the deal. No, he didn't want Karmelo to testify. That's what he didn't want. He would have never made the deal in the first place. Okay, he would have never made that deal in the first place. He did not want Karmelo to testify. And here's the thing. If Karmelo had testified, that would have absolutely given the jurors, in my opinion, reasonable doubt. Because if Karmelo got up there and testified saying things like, I was in fear for my life, I have epilepsy, I'm sick, or he couldn't say that because the judge said no. But even if he had gotten up there and said, I had surgery on my arm, my shoulder, there was 4 of them, that would have been good for the jury to hear, because guess what? The jury did see the grainy video footage, and they did see, I'm sure, like we all saw, the 4 figures in front of him. So if Karmelo had gotten up there and said there was 4 big people in front of me, I thought they were all going to attack me. Okay, when Austin and Hunter hit me, I thought the rest were going to jump in, or maybe they all jumped in. Whatever he would have said could have given them reasonable doubt. And here's why. Because the witnesses who testified previously, they had already given conflicting statements, okay, as opposed to what they testified to on the stand. Okay, they got tripped up in some of their lies, especially Eddie. Okay, we know that because Mike Howard did trip them up a couple of times and say, well, didn't you initially say this and didn't you initially say that? So that already could have put it in the jurors' minds that they're not being 100% honest, okay, that they're not telling the whole truth here. So if Karmelo had gotten up there and testified on his own behalf in his own defense, then he could have spoken to many things that the jurors could have been wondering, like, why did you do it? Why did you have a knife at a track meet? He could have then told them, I didn't bring a knife to a track meet. That belonged to Austin or Hunter. It was already there. That's what we used to put up tents and tighten cleats. See, you see how that could have worked? Now, mind you, the prosecution could have still said, oh, no, you had a knife. And then Mike Howard should have said, well, where is the knife? Where is the actual weapon? You just have a picture. He could have done all of that, but he didn't do any of it. He did not want Karmelo to testify, period. That's what he didn't want.
But them lying ass twins. And when I say nobody, you did that boy a disservice to get him locked up for 35 years. And see, this the thing. You have some people who are actually mad he only got 35 years. Meanwhile, Derek Chauvin put his kneecaps in the back of somebody's neck and intentionally smirted them with a camera in his face. Did not care. And they only gave him 22.
Exactly. Did y'all even think about that? Okay. Make it all make sense. I'm going to go to this next clip. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. We're almost out of here. I'm trying to keep this under the 2-hour mark. So I'm going to show one more video after this.
Fucking go. We got motion, y'all. And by motion, Karmelo's legal team today filed the motion for a new trial and a motion for recusal for Judge Roach to recuse himself. I'm in the process of getting my hands on these motions. It might take a day or two. We will see, depending upon the clerk's speed. But I told y'all, and obviously I was advocating this from the jump. Where are you guys all at? Be like, he can't do that. It's going to be years before he sees it. Yeah.
Now, this guy was on it before Karmelo got his new pro bono team of attorneys. This guy was on it. He even typed up the paperwork. If you all remember, I showed you his video because he's been to prison before, so he knows how it goes. And a lot of these people that spend years in prison, they become very well versed on the law and how to draw up different things, different documents and all of that. Okay, so he drew up the document.
Shut the fuck up, you know? And the judge has 75 days to rule on this motion from the day that he got sentenced, which was 28 days ago. So he is statutorily mandated to rule on this motion within 47 days. We're going to see if there's going to be an evidentiary hearing. Again, I got to see the claims in here to see the strength of it. I'm still nervous because we're going to see all the claims that they made, and then I'm going to show you guys my motions to see how many overlap there is. But we're excited, man. This was fucking needed.
Okay. And shout out to him because he really has been talking about Karmelo's story and trying to help as best he could. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this video because y'all got to see this, and then we're out of here. And this is totally off topic. Danielle said, Queen, just remember, karma never sleeps. Those attorneys, the jurors, and the judge will get their karma. Absolutely, beloved. I absolutely agree. Okay, but I want you all to see this video because y'all remember how Rick Chow and his son accused Cyrus of stealing bottles of water, and then they chased him down over 130 yards and then shot him and killed him and got off. I want y'all to see this because guess who's stealing from the Asians? Sorry, it's Karen. And do you think they chased Karen down? Okay, do you think they locked Karen in the business? Nope. Here's what they did to Karen.
Yes, you wait 3 minutes. The bullet come right now.
Okay.
Yeah. He said that.
They just said don't call the police department though, and I can pay tomorrow.
No. We call the
They
police.
should tell us, not
Yes.
you. Okay, thank you.
Cảnh sát kêu mày về đi, cho ra được mày đi mà.
Okay.
Where your car?
Over here, but they already said don't call the police and I'll bring money
Now I want you all to pay attention. This woman was in there straight up stealing. And so then she goes in the little security room. I don't know who she talked to back there, but she's claiming that she was told that they don't need to call the police on her and basically said she can just come back and pay tomorrow. Y'all hear that? Now they accuse Black people of stealing and will even kill you only to find out that you didn't. Latasha Harlins, okay? But this lady walks in there and steals, and then comes out and says, "Oh no, they said I just talked to them, and they said don't call the cops. I can just bring the money tomorrow." But they still follow her out to her car to get her tag and all of that, but they don't do anything else.
Tomorrow.
Oh,
Okay.
can you show me where she call you? Where's the
And
name
listen
of
to
the
how she's
corner?
talking to her. Listen to how she's talking to her so nice. Can you show me where is your car?
I was in communication with the police department because my father is a police officer in the sheriff's
I don't
reserve.
care about that. Sorry about that.
I want to come back tomorrow
No, you
to
need to
pay.
pay before you left. You don't know and very care.
We call the police right now.
Can you help me? She doesn't want to pay. She run away.
Ơi, xa ra, bãi về xe nha.
This is all nefarious. Look at him
Coi
sitting
chừng
there
á, coi
recording.
chừng bả lủi lên á.
And Karen's out of there. Okay, Karen's out of there. I think she went in there and got her nails done and didn't want to pay for it or whatever. But my thing is, how come y'all didn't chase her 130 yards? How come y'all didn't lock the doors and hold her in there? Okay, false imprisonment, anyone? Because that's what they've done to Black people. We've all seen it. I've shown you the footage. Okay, so they didn't do any of that to Karen, and Karen told them, "Oh, my father works for the police department, and I'm just going to bring the money back tomorrow." What? Okay, what? This is all crazy. That's right. XX Frank Nitty said not the same for Black people. Exactly. Okay, and you see why we're not shopping with them? Do they get it now? And they want to say that, oh, it's just one incident. Y'all are just mad at one person taking out all of us. No. Okay, many of you, not all, but many of you have been nefarious. And here's the thing. The Asian allies who are not racist devils, they absolutely applaud us in our efforts, okay, for sticking firm and standing 10 toes down with not shopping with them. The only ones that are mad are the ones that are racist, okay, because I find it all interesting. They got so mad and came crawling up out of the woodwork to talk trash, but didn't offer up any condolences or say anything about Cyrus losing his life, okay, or condemning Rick Chow for doing so. No, they doubled down on their hatred and racism and then tried to flip the script and act like we're the racists because we don't want to give them our money any longer. Okay, then started lying on us, talking about we want to burn down and destroy their businesses. We don't need to do any of that. Nobody's trying to catch penitentiary charges. Nobody's trying to throw rocks at the penitentiary. Nobody's trying to go to jail for y'all. It's not even that serious, okay? We don't have to. And like that guy said in the video that I showed you all the other day, it's a whole lot more fun to sit back and watch your businesses crumble because you don't have us in there to give you the money and patronize you any longer. You brought it on yourselves. You brought it on yourselves, okay? So anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. CN Funding says, I don't trust nobody, none Black or a few Black people, unfortunately, because a few can be sellouts. Well, that's true. That's true. I wouldn't advise you to trust many people, honey, at the end of the day. Most people are not to be trusted. That's just the facts. Okay? So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. Southern Lady says, if Karen didn't have money to get her nails done, they should have took the nails off. Exactly. Or at least lock the door and told her, you're not leaving up out of here until we get our money, like they do Black people. Okay, they didn't throw any brooms. They didn't throw any barbicide in her face. They didn't hit her with a broom or a mop. And I'm not saying they should have. I'm just saying this is what they've done to Black people. When Black people had the money to pay, but didn't want to pay because the service was not up to par. When they had complaints. Okay, that's what they've done. Locked them in the businesses, okay, and beaten them with brooms and mops. Okay, they didn't have any of that smoke for Karen. And see, that's the problem I have with many of them because they want to be so close to wanton supremacy and then they want to look down on us. But if it wasn't for our ancestors fighting for civil rights, they wouldn't even be here. Okay, I mean, no gratitude at all whatsoever from some of them. Okay. All a hot mess. So anyway, with that all being said, listen, I love you all to life. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please like and share. Okay, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. And until next time, beloveds, listen, always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Okay, and I will talk to you all again soon. I'll be back in the morning with your morning wake-up call. All right, so until then, they will cleave to the tribe of Judah. Exactly. I'm Rifling Christ. Where have you been? Talking about... I'm Rifling Christ said something for the collection plate. Thank you, beloved, because you know I sure need it. Okay, I sure need it. Thank you kindly, beloved. I appreciate you. Okay, I appreciate your generosity. All right, so with that all being said, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got